Picture this, a charming content creator sits across from a podcast host, calmly explaining how he's been using anime villain strategies to manipulate people since he was 12 years old. The scariest part, he's not hiding it, he's teaching it. I discovered something that will fundamentally change how you see the people around you. Someone who calls himself Neurofried has just revealed the blueprint that real-world manipulators use every single day, and it's taken straight from one of anime's most terrifying villains. But here's what nobody's talking about: this isn't fiction anymore. You know Aizen Sosuke, right? The Bleach captain who fooled literally everyone for over a century, orchestrating every major event from the shadows while wearing the perfect mask of a gentle, trustworthy leader. Well, I just found his real-world counterpart, and the parallels are so disturbing that I had to write this. Neurofried didn't choose his path by accident. He felt unwanted from birth, stemming from what he describes as an unwanted pregnancy. That early rejection created something most people never develop: a systematic approach to understanding and controlling human behavior. Sound familiar? Aizen's entire motivation stemmed from transcending the natural order, rejecting the world that placed limits on his potential. But here's where it gets interesting. At 12 years old, while most kids were watching cartoons, Nero was reading psychology books to understand his mother's severe bipolar disorder. That innocent desire to help became something much darker, an obsession with becoming what he calls a mental hacker. Now, before you think this is just another self-help guru story, let me tell you what happened when he discovered the 48 Laws of Power. He described seeing the book in a photo as a tear in the veil. Suddenly, life revealed itself as a competitive, hierarchical game. Does this sound like someone you know? Someone who realized that strength and cunning were the only currencies that mattered in a world of sheep? Nero spent his high school years using his classmates as what he calls a board of tests for these manipulation principles. Imagine Aizen's centuries of planning, compressed into teenage social dynamics. The results were probably devastating for his classmates, though they never knew what hit them. But the most chilling part is what he did is how he thinks about it now. He categorizes every human being into 5 levels of players on what he calls the board of life. Level 1: completely irrelevant people like newborns or the terminally ill. Level 2: unconscious players who manipulate without realizing it, your gossipy neighbors, backstabbing coworkers. Level 3: conscious players who know the rules and actively participate. Then we get to the dangerous ones. Level 4: conscious professionals who have mastered manipulation and consistently achieve their goals. Level 5: unconscious professionals who have internalized these concepts so deeply that manipulation becomes automatic, effortless, invisible. He places himself at level 4, aspiring to level 5. If you've seen Bleach, you know exactly what level 5 looks like. It is Aizen activating Kyoka Suigetsu without anyone realizing their perception of reality just got hijacked. But here's what makes this even more unsettling. Nero openly admits his 3 life objectives, and they read like a villain's manifesto. First, unify his shadow and light to become something he calls persona vital. See in Nero a lifelong mask that perfectly blends his birth identity with his crafted persona. This isn't just personal branding. This is conscious identity architecture designed to maximize influence and control. Remember how Aizen maintained his gentle captain facade for decades while orchestrating Soul Society's destruction? Same energy, different universe. Second objective: surpass his father's success as a 4-time world boxing champion, but through mental battles instead of physical ones. He is literally competing in a different arena where the victories are psychological and the defeated never even know they lost. Third, acquire what he defines as power, a combination of knowledge, money, networking, and attention. Notice how attention is part of his power formula. That's because attention equals influence, and influence equals control. You're probably wondering how someone can be so openly manipulative and still be successful. Here is the terrifying answer: it works because most people can't believe someone would actually be this calculating. Aizen's greatest strength wasn't his spiritual pressure or his Zanpakuto. It was that nobody could conceive that their beloved captain was capable of such elaborate deception. The mask was so perfect that even when presented with evidence, people couldn't accept the truth. Nero faces the same disbelief. He literally teaches manipulation techniques on YouTube, discusses the 48 Laws of Power openly, and people still engage with him as if he's just another content creator. They see the information as theoretical, academic, entertainment. They don't realize they're watching a masterclass in real-time psychological warfare. But something interesting happened to our real-world Aizen recently. He experienced what he calls a severe depression after one of his subscribers took their own life. For the first time, he faced the actual consequences of his influence, and it shook him. This is where the comparison gets even more fascinating. Even Aizen, in his final moments, seemed to question whether his path was worth the isolation it created. Nero talks about therapy helping him recognize beauty in the light and understand that even marionettes have souls. It's almost like watching a villain's redemption arc play out in real time. He's become more prudent with his daily manipulations, he says, more careful about the damage he might cause. But here is the question that should keep you up at night. How do you know when someone with these skills is being genuine about their redemption? If you can perfectly manipulate perception, how would anyone verify authentic change? The most disturbing part of this entire revelation isn't that someone like Nero exists. It's that he's probably not unique. He just happens to be the one talking about it openly. Think about the people in your life who always seem to get what they want. The ones who navigate social situations effortlessly, who somehow always come out on top in conflicts, who make you feel special when they pay attention to you and terrible when they don't. How many of them studied the same books, developed the same skills, learned to see you as a piece on their board? Nero mentions that manipulation is present everywhere from minor daily interactions to major political events. He's right, and that's the most terrifying part of this whole story. We're all living in someone else's Kyoka Suigetsu, and most of us don't even know when it's been activated. The question isn't whether people like Nero exist in your life. The question is whether you'll develop the awareness to recognize them before they achieve their objectives. Because unlike in anime, there's no protagonist coming to save you from the mastermind who's been pulling strings behind your reality. You're on your own in this game, and the rules are already written.